This is the Northwest Tank Line Super Bowl show coming to you from Radio Row, Las Vegas, Nevada, Mandalay Bay Convention Center. And this man was floating around, and I said, you know what? I got to get this guy on our show. He's a legend when it comes to the UFC. We had a pretty legendary night at the Parlor in Vancouver. You can check it out at The Real Mojo on Instagram. A picture of myself, Ed Jovanovski, and the Iceman, Chuck Liddell, from 2016. I think that night's a blur for me. Do you remember much with Eddie J that night?
It was a good one. We had some fun.
Hey, talk about Vancouver. I know you spent some time up there. I mean, one of your favorite cities, I imagine, to visit on the planet.
Oh, yeah, it's a great place to visit, man. I was like, it's one of my favorite places to fight in Canada. I mean, the fans up there are great.
You look back at your career now. People, they talk about the UFC. They talk about the guys that kind of got everything going. Yourself, Randy Couture. I mean, do you kind of look at it and say, I planted the seed and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing now in terms of this massive fruit that's been born?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. It's great to watch, and it's a great sport. Best sport in the world. I love watching.
Why?
It's two guys fighting. It's the puzzle pieces of putting that together between mixing all the different styles, and the guys are getting better and better at mixing it, and putting it together, and moving around. So,
it's funny. I remember talking to Dana White about this, and he said the reason people like it because it's primal. I thought that was a great way of describing it.
I mean,
because here's the thing, Chuck. I mean, you go to a hockey game, and everyone's talking about getting fighting out of hockey, right? No. But when a fight occurs, guess what? Everybody's standing on their feet. As much as people talk about concussions, got to get this out of the game. It's not safe. But when there's a fight, people all stand and start, as long as nobody gets seriously hurt, people enjoy it, right?
Right, of course. No one wants anyone to get seriously hurt. I mean, I'm trying to seriously hurt you when I'm fighting, but I'm hoping you're okay as soon as it's over.
Now, how much you were talking about sports evolving, how much has MMA evolved since when you first started into it?
Well, when I first started, we were just trying to figure out how to mix it together. We were figuring out how to spar, how to train. Now guys are coming into it. They come into it as mixed martial arts. When I started, most guys came with one. There's like 3 disciplines basically.
Yeah.
Striking, wrestling, takedown stuff, and then ground stuff, right? Jiu-jitsu. And so everybody from the beginning came in with one of them. They come in like a striker, and they had to learn the other 2. Mm-hmm. And we had to learn. And I came with 2. I came with wrestling and striking. But I had to learn jiu-jitsu. So now we have to learn how to mix it together, how to train it together, how to put it together, and how to and then not. And now that now they've got you got nutritionists, strength coaches, you got guys, and they've gotten better and better at putting it how to spar and how to train, how to work with it. So
way more scientific too,
yeah,
right?
In terms of the approach. More scientific and like just how do you spar? Because it's really a hard sport to spar because you can't put big gloves on and wrestle. You can't put big sparring gloves on and wrestle. You punch, but you can't put little gloves on and punch guys in the head. And you're going to have sparring partners too long.
It's crazy when you talk about sparring, and it brings back a memory of mine. I've never done any competitive wrestling, boxing, none of that. I had occasional dust-up maybe outside of a pub, but that was when I was a kid. But the one thing I do remember, Dale Walters was an Olympic bronze medalist, welterweight in L.A., Canadian kid. He had a gym in Vancouver. And I'd trained with him for 2 months doing boxing, right? Like, the heavy bag, skipping rope, the speed bag, all of it. And Dale says to me, he goes, you know what? He goes, I need a workout today. He goes, I had a rough night last night. Let's spar for 3 rounds. I'm like, well, this could be fun. Dude couldn't weigh more than 100 pounds. I'm like, this can be easy, right? 3 of the toughest round, 3 times 3, 9 minutes of, exhaustion. By the end of the 3rd round, I was done. I was spent. And I'd been training for 2 months, right? People don't understand how tiring and how fatiguing just boxing, never mind boxing, but MMA, grappling, judo, you name it, is.
Oh, yeah, no, I used to think it was funny. I some of the football players come in to my gym, and they want to spar. Okay, put on some big guns. I just let them start swinging. They swing really hard for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. They get by the end of a couple rounds, they can't even keep those gloves up. They can't even, they're like, their arms are so tired they can't keep the 16-ounce gloves up.
Yeah,
I started laughing. They're like, how much longer is this round? I'm like, you got a couple of minutes on me.
I remember with Dale, I was so done by the 3rd round, I was covering up in the corner. And he's like, come on, keep fighting, like, keep swinging. And I'll never forget, I look over on the side, and there was a big glass window, and 3 women were walking down the stairs. And I'm thinking to myself, what are they thinking? There's a guy who weighs like 100 pounds soaking wet, and he's got this guy who weighs like 250 covered up in a corner taking punches, right? I mean, it was embarrassing, but it was funny at the same time. Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, the UFC legend, is our guest for a couple more minutes. Chuck, where do you see the future of UFC?
I just think it'll keep getting bigger. I mean, they're going to keep going. I hope it stays. I like it having it like as much as people, as a fan, as much as people always talk about breaking it up. The UFC's got the. I like having one organization at the top. It's kind of like having an NFL. All your favorite fighters under the same umbrella. So they're all going to fight.
You don't want to see it like boxing, where you had like at one point you had all these different divisions.
And then this guy, and then that guy dodges this guy for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's like it's just so hard to get a fight made. I mean, the thing in the UFC, even if you're the most boring fighter in the world, if you're the best in the world, eventually you're gonna hit your title shot, and if no one can beat you, you're gonna keep it.
What's keeping you busy these days?
Go around. I do some speaking engagements and stuff like that, and do some charity stuff, doing some charity work, raising my kids mostly though.
Still get into the gym occasionally?
I like it. That's my favorite way to work out. Yeah. If I have to do anything, favorite way to do cardio or anything is just hitting the bag, hitting mitts, wrestling.
All right. Well, Chuck, it's been great catching up with you. Continued success in all your endeavors, and look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you, guys.